Well, sadistic zombies is not the kind of phrase you expect from Nobel Prize winning economist Paul Krugman. Read it and learn seems to be something Donald Trump has never been able to do, and the Republicans he dominates in Congress seem to have the same deficiency. The cruelty of the budget bill designed by Donald Trump and the Republican Congress has provoked the mild-mannered Professor Krugman, not known for rhetorical excess, to call Donald Trump and the Republican Congress sadistic zombies. And I will take the liberty during this hour to extend Professor Krugman's term to include the Trump ally who actually might be the most sadistic of all, Elon Musk, into the group of sadistic zombies now trying to control our governing, and in Elon Musk's case, trying to control this starving little girl in a refugee camp near South Sudan. Because Elon Musk believes that the girl you're looking at right there, Elon Musk believes that she has received too much free food from you. Too much free food from the United States of America. The United States of America has been producing more food than we can consume for more than a century now, and we have been sending food aid around the world for almost 200 years, as we did during the Irish famine in 1847. Former USAID official Dr. Atul Gawande is in Africa tonight, where he has seen what these sadistic zombies have done to that little girl and to people who need the HIV care that the United States has been supplying thanks to a program created by Republican President George W. Bush, but no more.
I mean, it has to top it, right? That they just slashed all of our benefits in the middle of the night on the same day he takes a $400 million bribe plane. I don't know, has the dinner for the meme coin grift. It humiliates us on the world stage again with the South African president. Just go, Carl.
Well, I mean, you're operating under the assumption, you said it's a bad day for all of us. I don't think it was a bad day for all of us. Somebody got a shiny new plane.
Yeah.
And some people got, another couple $100 million to pad their bottom line. But I guess if you're judging a bad day based on, the commitments coming into this administration of looking out for everyday people and fixing the economy and helping people, yeah, I guess it's been a bad day for most people. Healthcare, hunger. These are all things that are going to be driving, that are going to be particularly worrisome as the economy, continues to have difficulties under this president. We shouldn't be cutting these things because we're going to need them even more.
This headline, this is the one story I didn't get to, Jody, from yesterday. And I have to say, it is, as you know, I'm the happy clappy liberal, Carl. So when Chris Lavoie is more hopeful than I am, it's...
That's not good.
He's like, I really don't think this Qatari jet thing's going to happen. I'm like, oh, really? And who's going to stop him this time? This was yesterday, Carl, how Congress could crush Trump's Qatari plane gift. Well, you knew that this was going to happen. Trump's move is deeply unpopular. That doesn't matter. So's everything they did in the middle of the night, right? A gift for Democrats, a reckoning for Republicans. Critics, including within his own party and among MAGA allies, cite security risks, taxpayer cost, ethical concerns, not to mention $1 billion taxpayer dollars to upgrade this plane, which probably won't even be ready by the time, is there a hopeful part that he will leave office, or I don't know?
He keeps saying he's leaving.
Democrats are weighing, but here's what happens, Carl, when we're out of power. Democrats are weighing tools to block the deal, such as sticking amendments into defense legislation to stymie it. Even if they can't get enough frustrated Republicans to vote against the president, the effort could still box in the administration, put pressure on Qatar, and force the GOP into painful political territory. They don't seem like they care about any of that, Carl. I mean, this what they did in the middle of the night is wildly unpopular, right?
Yeah, if they get rid of the plane, then they won't have the plane to ride on and kiss his ring. And more than anything, these people want to be on that plane. So they're not going to do anything to jeopardize that, even if it means being on that plane when he's no longer president.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even... just in one day they committed a bill that we have $1 billion sitting around, right? But not for Medicare that we've paid into our entire lives, right? Or
well, and it's actually billions upon billions of dollars. If you consider all of the things that have been cut through aid programs by Doge and Musk and everybody, and all of the people who have been fired, and all the people who we're talking about billions of dollars being transferred from working people to the extremely wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, just so people know, Carl, because people may have just gotten up, Dakota says, while Americans slept, Trump's big, beautiful bill got the oligarch stamp of approval. Here's what House Republicans did. Cut Medicare and Medicaid by over $1 trillion. Eliminated health insurance for 13.7 million Americans. Gutted SNAP, taking food away from 4 million children. Ended Pell Grants for 1.4 million students. Added over $3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years, or $5.1 trillion to the deficit if permanent. Gave the top 1% a $664 billion tax cut. Same, different day,
By the way,
right?
I mean, it would be wise for people to look at Kansas as an example here. When Sam Brownback became governor many years ago, he went in there with this whole, I'm going to cut everything, austerity, cut education, cut funding to essential services. And what happened? The economy in Kansas went into a tailspin. People started moving out of the state, and Republicans were thrown out of the governorship. I think we're now on 12 years. I don't know exactly. So, people would be wise to study that as an example of, even in a dark red place like Kansas, change is possible, especially when the Republicans are going to this extreme.
Well, I guess that's the silver lining, is we just won another big, I forget where this one was, right? Democrat won by 20-something points in a place Trump just won by 55. We obviously have Wisconsin. We have, what was the one before that? So it has the feeling of a political earthquake to me. I have to hope. I mean, this is the problem. Damien said, I saw that someone posted the question, where are all the MAGAs who kept telling us Donald will never touch Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP? My guess is they're making tearful GoFundMe videos. I mean, Carl, it's not like you and I haven't been having the conversation for 11 billion years. Why do people vote against their own self-interests, right? But
because it's motivated by other things, right? Like, Trump's entire ethos is who to blame. And so he gives people somebody to blame.
Brown people.
Once they do the blaming, and it turns out the person they had to fear all along was Donald Trump, it's very difficult for people to turn back and say, I was wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
But their experience shows it.
And the media, writer said, Lord, the claims of white genocide in South Africa are a lie. It's a lie. Why aren't the headlines saying that? Reporting can assert Biden's staff covered up, but they can't say the president is lying or not telling the truth from the Oval. Goodness. That's from Simone Sanders. I mean, it really, in some ways, this whole Biden book coverage, Carl, tells you how this was able to happen in the middle of the night, because they weren't reporting on that, right?
Right.
I mean,
well, and we persisted having live coverage of this president as he gives, what can only, if you try and go back and read some of the things that Donald Trump says at meetings with foreign leaders, during press conferences, during meetings with congressional Republicans or his cabinet, people used to call them non sequiturs. And that was just a friendly way of saying it made no sense whatsoever. And yet, where are the stories? This is a daily occurrence.
Yeah. Well, by the way, you can't read them because they scrub them from the White House. Most of the the stuff that he says, because they know it's crazy. So they've scrubbed most of the transcripts of stuff he said. I mean, Covey says that man sat in the Oval Office and showed photos of the burial site of black women who were raped and burned alive in Congo, claiming it showed the burial site of white farmers in South Africa. Has there ever been a more horrible human being? No. And and by the way, the South African president, I swear to God, like, almost every leader has so much more class and elegance than he does, but the fact that he had to try to break the tension, make a joke, I wish I had a plane to give you, it's just like so humiliating. And he's trying like, I wish you did too, and I would take it if you had it. It's like, oh God, it's just so.
It's a bit like Marty McFly with Biff,
Yeah.
And if Biff were president, like if we kept watching Back to the Future 2 and spliced in a director's cut, this is what would have happened if Biff became president.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One more. NF says MAGA's going to really find out what they voted for. Unfortunately, the rest of us are going down with the ship too. Say goodbye to rural hospitals. I can't even fathom what will happen to my aging sister if Medicaid stops funding nursing homes. This bill is atrocious.
And let me explain for people who live in big cities what it's like at a rural hospital. When I lived in Iowa and I had to go to the doctor, I went to the hospital because that's where the doctors were.
Right.
You went to the hospital for all sorts of medical care. It wasn't like you went to your internist here and your orthopedist there, and and everybody had their own office or whatever. You drove a little bit to get to the hospital that was nearest you, and this is going to decimate that.
Yeah.
These hospitals rely on these payments from the federal government for services.
Yep. By the way, just to your point about Biff, our friend Joe Walsh, I think, said, I really don't know why any world leader would come to the White House and meet with Donald Trump. He's a bully. You don't appease bullies. You don't kiss up to them. You stand up to bullies. You punch them because all bullies are cowards. Trump's a coward. So unless you're planning on standing up to and or punching Trump, no world leader should bother coming to the White House. And before you start posting, I didn't mean literally punch. Oh, my God. So in your area there on the Board of Education, every single one of these cabinet secretaries in a normal world, Carl, would have been fired, would never have been, confirmed in the first place. This is Madeline Dean, who's fantastic, Representative Dean with Linda McMahon. One. There we go. Representative Madeline Dean yesterday.
Why are you shuttering a department that's supposed to lift up those children?
Because those programs don't have to flow through the Department of Education, and they
can flow through the state. I was a state legislator. That's called shift and shaft. I've spoken with the governor of Pennsylvania. They can't pick up the tab anymore for education of our students. Not to mention, it would be inequitable by state, by state, by state.
Here they go, right? Like, oh no, we're pushing FEMA to the states. Well, meanwhile, there's Josh Hawley and other people from Missouri begging for help after the tornadoes because FEMA hasn't been there. They don't, and it hasn't shifted to the states, quote unquote.
Well, and here's what's absolutely insidious. Especially, she's talking right there about IDEA, which is what gives our special education students, their free and appropriate public education. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of requirements in IDEA to ensure that these students get exactly what they deserve in our schools, the types of services they need so that they can access an education. There's a lot of monitoring that goes into that, a lot of paperwork that goes into that. And states are not currently set up to do that. And so when the federal government decides to wash its hands of the funding situation and push those to the states, regardless of what the states do with that money, local school divisions are still going to be responsible for following IDEA and the things that are in IDEA that require. So not only is this shifting the buck, but it is probably going to result in school divisions having to cut essential services to fully fund the IDEA work that used to be funded, at least in part, by the federal government, because we have to continue following the law. Of course we do. Yep. We need to make sure that our special education students get everything they need to survive, to thrive in our schools.
Oh, hey there, it's Stephanie Miller. If you're like me and you love sharp political insight, pointy, you like it pointy and sharp, bold opinions, and a touch of humor to make sense of these crazy times, have I got some fantastic news for you. The Political Voices Network is now on Substack. This is your new go-to for the best in independent media. We're talking about my show streaming daily with episodes on demand, the fearless of journalism of Brian Karem, the brilliant side-splitting satire of John Fugelsang, the unrelenting working class advocacy of Rick Smith, and so much more. Here's the best part. Subscribing is so easy. You can join for free or go to the extra mile. Support these incredible independent voices by signing up for a full subscription starting at just $8. You'll get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and a chance to directly fuel fearless, unfiltered media. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Hit that subscribe button and become part of the movement keeping truth alive in an era of corporate media overload. Every subscription helps, especially yours. One more time, that is politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Sign up now. Do it.